Well, hello there. This is Kermit the Frog.
Fascinating.
I'm Captain Kirk.
Magic is always there.
As
long as we keep looking for it.
Engage.
What does God need with a starship?
Thank you. Love you. Mwah.
I protest. I am not a merry man.
Places, please. And here we go.
Down at Fraggle Rock.
Welcome, Doozers, Gorgs, Trash Heaps, and Gosians and Things, to episode 162 of the MuppeTrek Podcast. I'm Jarman.
And I am Steve. Oh my God, my note, where'd it go? And I'm Steve. We're on a journey
you don't know your name?
The stars. I will know. And no, I was about to go in and start launching into the old opening, which I just changed, and I realized, I don't have the new one memorized yet.
Nice.
We're on a journey across the stars to compare and contrast the creative worlds of Jim Henson and Gene Roddenberry.
And what started as reviews in the we're getting our way back here, guys. It's been a while. I can't talk. What started as reviews of The Muppet Show and Star Trek the original series has expanded into outer space.
And this week we have Fraggle Rock episode Manny's Land of Carpet. And Star Trek The Next Generation episode, The Hunted.
Oh, I thought it was carpets, plural. That's good to know. I need to change my description.
Carpets? Oh, my God. It might be carpets. Shit.
But before we do that, Steve, we have some feedback. So a longtime listener of the show, Bill Lamond, has sent us a few emails about different episodes he's been listening to. Apparently, he was stuck in a hotel after getting some damn bed bugs in the house. We know how terrible that can be. Termites, bed bugs, it gets you stuck out of your house for a while. So he had some time to send some emails and responses. Very much appreciated. So we're going to touch on a few things you mentioned, Bill. One of the things you talked about was episode, oh my gosh, what episode was it? It was 129. This is when we talked about Fraggle Rock episode, I Want to Be You, and Next Generation episode, The Child. That's that lovely problematic episode with Deanna Troi being violated mentally. He says, good for you pointing out how personal violation of Deanna Troi is glossed over for the audience. Are you familiar with how Farscape was so much not shy about that? I love Farscape. We're actually probably going to get to Farscape eventually because it's a Henson show.
Jim Henson Creature Shop. Yeah.
Yeah. So he says there's a podcast about that series or about the series in general called Muppets, Sex, and Trauma. Podcast I absolutely love for their senses of humor and for being therapeutic, especially after the Different Destinations episode of Farscape. Man, I can't imagine there's a bunch of episodes about Farscape podcasts out there, but Muppets, Sex, and Trauma sounds right up our alley, though.
That does.
I wonder if the Tough Pig guys know about Muppets, Sex, and Trauma.
And I looked it up. You said you couldn't look it up now, so I just went ahead and did it. But I'm pretty sure Mark Sheppard, who you mentioned in an episode, and his dad were both in the new rebooted Doctor Who, and you are right. We looked it up. Mark Sheppard and his dad, William Morgan Sheppard, both appeared in Star Trek. Mark in Deep Space Nine, his father in Next Generation episode, season 2 episode, The Schizoid Man, which I think is probably the episode that we mentioned. Episode
134.
You were absolutely right. They both absolutely appeared in the reboot of Doctor Who.
And which actually transitions really well to another email that Bill sent, because I actually met Mark Sheppard, the son, at DragonCon very briefly, because he was at a bar just chilling there because he was a guest at DragonCon, the convention, and he was just having a drink and people were talking to him and he was just hanging out because he was just a cool dude. And this was right when Battlestar Galactica was at like its prime. And Bill mentions DragonCon, and he says he's gotten the DragonCon like virtual membership, which is really cool. I won't be able to go for a while because I got the kids, or the kid now. But he mentions the Riker competition that he watched on one of the videos, and I actually went with my wife to the Riker competition at DragonCon the last time we went, and I wonder if it's the same one he watched on the screen because they only have one the whole weekend.
That is crazy.
And it's a hilarious competition because a lot of women go up there dressed as Riker and try to be the best Riker.
Oh, gotta love it.
And they had a girl did win because they all have to do a hidden talent, and she pulls out a fitted sheet on the stage and she folded the fitted sheet perfectly, and that was her talent. Everyone was amazed and clapped.
Yeah, dude, yes.
It's amazing. Who can do that? Oh, yeah. And so then also Bill sent us talking about being a member of the Starfleet, the actual fan club for Star Trek that's nationwide. It might be international. I'm assuming it might be. And I actually was a member when I was younger, and I remember them sending me a manila envelope with all the membership information, but I never made it to a meeting, unfortunately. But he has a local meeting. But he said he did some artwork for them, and he sent us some art. And we won't have permission to post it yet, but if Bill gives us permission, maybe we'll post it on our social media or something like that, because it's really good artwork he did of like Starfleet Academy in San Francisco. And it looks really good, Bill.
Yeah, and the bridge in the background. It looks great.
Yeah, fantastic. So thank you for sending us those responses.
Is that watercolor? Let me know if that's watercolor.
Yeah, I think you said watercolor. Yeah. On the bottom one.
Nailed it. I knew it.
So thanks, Bill. But before we move on, Bill. I think those emails, they kind of rocked, just like our next segment.
I want to rock. There are all kinds of gems, jewels, and geodes in the world, many of which can be found in Fraggle Rock. And this week's is Damburite. Well, it was first identified in Danbury, Connecticut in 1839. It is known for these beautifully clear crystal structures that range from almost completely clear all the way to golds and yellows, to the point where it was mistaken for a long time for topaz, due not only to its color, but to its hardness. This forms where hot magma bumps into limestone, and they like grind together, and it creates these mineral-rich zones called skarns. And I just like the word skarns.
That sounds like a Henson term.
It is. They are widely sold. There's no commercial reason to have them, but they're widely sold in the crystal healing markets, as they are known as a high vibration stone.
We're in the wrong line of work, man. We could be making so much money off that.
Yeah, man. We could be. That's Damburite, and that rocks.
That rocks.
I want to rock!
All right.
What's going down in Fraggle Rock? Well, what's up, Doc? Doc is testing a new radio, one that picks up signals from the other side of the world for only $4. But all he can get is local carpet commercials. Sprocket hates the thing. So he takes the radio, he shoves it through the hole in the wall. Doc comes back. He's outraged that Sprocket lost the radio in the hole. Sprocket reaches in for it, but he can't find it. Finally, Doc reaches in and pulls it out, but decides that it wasn't worth the effort. What's going down in Fraggle Rock? Gobo is going to get Uncle Traveling Matt's postcard when he finds a shiny black box thing blocking his way. He goes to get the others, but Boober wonders if the appearance has something to do with the postcard for Uncle Traveling Matt he forgot he had, because they had to get it in here. Well, this week, Uncle Traveling Matt experiences a wish-granting creature and wishes Gobo and the others would come visit, but barring that, maybe he could send Gobo and the others a present instead. Gobo, Boober, and Wembley head towards outer space when the radio goes off, crackling and fizzing to life. They take it back to the rock where they catch the Manny's Land of Carpets commercial telling him to come on down right now. All the Fraggles in the rock gather round to see the thing and hear the voice that they believe now is the wish-granting creature for Uncle Traveling Matt's postcard. The Fraggles have to venture to Manny's Lands of Carpets because that is where their satisfaction is guaranteed. But Boober isn't on board. We get the song Follow the Road about this sort of promised land that they are all heading to. But then Large Marvin from a previous episode tunes the radio and thinks that he has been personally invited to Bubba's Burger Barn, where it's all you can eat. Now the Fraggles are split, fighting over whether they go to Manny's Land of Carpets for ultimate satisfaction or Bubba's Burger Barn for all you can eat. Boober calms everyone down until he hears the radio crackle on about Sally's Spotless Cleaners, where laundry is perfectly clean, and this interests Boober. Gobo, though, has a change of heart, and he thinks that the Fraggles shouldn't go. The voice that he should listen to is his own. Moral. But the others don't buy it. Gobo tells everyone that they can do whatever they want then and leave Fraggle Rock. He sings a sad song called Goodbye, Goodbye. He's joined by Wembley, and then suddenly all the other Fraggles wander in, just like Jarman loves in these things, where characters just wander in singing. They decide they can't leave the rock, and that they're better off without the black box. They take it back to the hole to outer space, where a big human hand reaches in and grabs it. End of episode.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jarman, what did you think of Manny's Land of Carpets?
Well, first of all, my wife was watching this with me, with our little baby on the couch. We were excited about eventually showing him Fraggle Rock episodes when he's older. But when they said Bubba's Burger Barn, both her and I just looked at each other and like, I want to go to Bubba's Burger Barn.
Yeah, I want Bubba's Burger Barn.
I'm hungry now.
All you can eat?
That sounds great. All you can eat burgers? What?
That's right.
But I thought this episode was really fun. We don't have any Marjorie yet again. Don't have any Gorgs yet again. No doozers.
No Gorgs. Zero doozers.
I know. But
not even background doozers. No doozers.
I would say I didn't miss it too much because this was pretty entertaining all the way throughout. I liked the songs were good. The whole idea of them what I didn't like though was that how easily the Fraggles were just going to abandon their home and just walk away. Like that's all it takes is one voice from the outside and they're excited about leaving Fraggle Rock. It's like, but you have it so good. Like you're happy. Everyone's pleasantly happy at Fraggle Rock. Why would they want to leave so quickly? If it was oppressive and terrible.
Bubba Burger Barn.
But the Burger Barn.
Bubba Burger Barn.
But I know Marge Marvin wants to leave because he's always hungry all the time. But
that's true. The world's biggest Fraggle. They established that.
He can't live off radishes alone, okay? He needs more than that.
I ate my last roommate. No, I agree. This one, really good. In one of our last episodes, I talked about how I needed to see a new kind of story in Fraggle Rock because it was always like Red doesn't want to have control over them. Wembley is a Wembler. Boober sticks to rules until it gets in the way. Like these over and over again. And this was not that story. This was very unique. We haven't seen this sort of thing before. I actually liked the idea that it was just like a piece of technology that appeared to them as magic to upset their entire world
instantly.
So I know that you were like, I don't think they should have, why would they want to leave? I think that was kind of the point, like the amazement and stupefaction at technology.
True. I mean, something's promising a promised land, but it's just like, I think you'd be less likely to be excited about that if your current world was pretty much okay. Like, I don't know if I trust that because where I'm at now is great, but if your world sucks, maybe you'd want to leave. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, because like to Fraggles, think about this. What is like the most industrialized or scientific-y thing we have seen in the entire thing?
They're doozer stuff.
Like doozers, I guess. But then I'm thinking like Gorg's Garden is like the pulley at the top of the well. And the wheelbarrow's pretty impressive. But like that's their standard.
They don't know how reflections work. So there's that.
Yeah. But no, I because this was such a good standalone and a new kind of story, it really reinvigorated me that Fraggle Rock may have some good surprises yet.
Absolutely. Yeah. Finally got out of those same tropes they were doing over and over again. So I did like that.
Now, mind you, next week, back to one of those tropes.
Oh, is it? Darn.
I don't know, but I'm probably is the answer.
Oh yeah, I see. What the doozers do? It's empty, and you're in the Gorg's Garden is empty.
I hate it. We have not had to fill those out for a while.
Damn.
Well, this week, what were those silly creatures up to? Well, Uncle Traveling Matt went and experienced a mall Santa. So I love the origin of Santa. I've done big, deep dives into it, but I'm just going to give the short version. So this all started with Thor. Thor had two goats that pulled his chariot, that they became associated with a winter holiday, typically depicted made out of hay, and supposedly the last bale of the harvest, the hay from the harvest, was the bale they formed into this goat, and so it became known as like the Yule goat, the Yule Bakken name. So then, as Norse culture swept further south, Norway, and then deeper into Sweden inland, where the people there had an established like fae folklore, including Tomte, which are more known as gnomes, friendly house or garden spirits, depicted often as little old men with long white beards and red pointy hats. And who does that sound like? As the winter holidays migrated further south, the Christmas goat became the Christmas gnome. Yule Bakken became Yule Tomte, and went from there. Then, as Christianity swept through Europe, they came blended in with local cultures. In English culture, we had this idea called Father Christmas, who was less of a gift giver and more of a holiday drinking buddy than anything else.
Nice.
but it wasn't until the Anglican Church split off from the Catholic Church, and they were trying to get rid of all this stuff from the Catholic Church, and so Father Christmas was kind of looped in with that. And the people that were resisting this latched on to Father Christmas, and Father Christmas became an icon of this split between the church. And so that is why it held on.
But wasn't there a Saint Nicholas though at some point?
So then that's the next thing. So then this is where this all just starts blending the shit together. So then we get to Saint Nicholas, a man who was a saint, but is really associated with the holiday through two separate mythoses about acts of Saint Nicholas. One of which was there was a poor man who had, I think, 3 daughters that he needed to marry because he was sick and dying or something and was afraid they would get married, but he didn't have a dowry to pay because this was that time frame, and he was afraid his daughters were going to die with nothing. So at night they put out their, I believe it was clogs at the time, and found that Saint Nicholas on the feast of Saint Nicholas had come and put gold balls into the toes of their clogs. So that is where the stuffing stockings come from, or at least one of the origins of where stockings come from. The other, though, where he kind of became the saint of children, is there was this governor somewhere, I want to say Spain, but I could be wrong, who had a son, and pirates attacked, stole the governor's son, ransacked the city, and took off. So the next year on the Feast of St. Nicholas, they're like mourning the fact their son isn't there. And all of a sudden there's a knock on the door. It's their son with a golden cup in his hand. And when they asked, how did you get home? He said, St. Nicholas came and got me.
Was he alive at the time, or is it just like...
I don't know. But these two sort of gift giving and then savior of children things melded along with all these other things. So you take all these traditions, you roll them into one, and you have a magical old man with a white beard, a pointy red hat, who takes care of children and gives gifts during the winter holidays.
And has those reindeer in front of him.
Right. And so between all those things, they all coalesced into what we now know as Santa Claus as a being.
That's so weird.
He is not purely Christian. He is not purely anything.
He's partially Coca-Cola ad campaign. He's partially everything put together.
Coca-Cola was the one that took all the things and visualized them in a massive way and did it before anyone else did. Like St. Nicholas had been depicted in magazines and in books, but typically he was almost like elf-like in those. It was Coca-Cola's artists that took all of the sort of imagery and put it out in a huge ad campaign, and it just, bam, that was it. That was Santa. Forever, that's Santa now.
I did a wonderful one-shot campaign of all Christmas creatures fighting against each other, and nice. I played as a Tomta. It was 3 little Tomtas stacked on top of each other, and we had this.
Try Tomta.
Yeah, they were super cute. So they're vicious, though.
So yeah, that's what the silly creatures is up to.
Nice.
Santa Claus. Darman, what did you think was the best Muppeteering moment this week?
As a rare moment we get to see in episodes where basically all the Fraggles are on screen at one time. It only happens occasionally. And we had that in this episode where they were all planning to leave, and you have all the kind of named Fraggles in the front, and then the background you see all the kind of just pulley Fraggles, I like to call them, I guess. Like they're not really hand puppets. They're like being pulled by strings on the outside, and they were kind of barely moving, but it still was like all coordinated all at once just for that one little scene. And I thought that was pretty impressive because that's a lot to pull together for one little tiny minute. Yeah.
Something I really dug is that we got to see a lot of like tertiary characters in this most recent. So we got like Large Marvin, but there were other Fraggles that had distinct small roles.
They've talked before
in episodes, and I think because they had to get so many out at the same time, that I could just pull them all out. We got to get all of them. But what about this one? He was in this episode. Doesn't matter. Get him out.
He has dust all over him. I don't care. It's fine.
For me, the best moment was I really dug this song "Goodbye, Goodbye." Honestly, I think it is some of the best vocals that we have heard this season at the very least, and really highlighted Jerry Nelson and Steve Whitmire's performances. Not the music doesn't always hit, but I feel like this was maybe some of the best we've heard.
And even the
From
first
two people
song,
that are actually very good singers.
the first song too, it just like was compiled very well and mixed very well. Like it just was like a more rich.
Oh, and it was upbeat
instruments
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're both really good in this episode.
So good music, I think, is the summary here.
Indeed, indeed.
Speaking of summaries, Jarman, what happened in this week's episode of Star Trek?
All right, so now we have The Hunted. So the Enterprise arrives at Angosia 3. They always got to have that number at the end. A planet that looks like paradise and is basically like very organized, very civilized people. They're applying for Federation membership. But the vibe is quickly ruined when a high-security prisoner named Roga Danar escapes from a penal colony on a nearby moon. Since the Angosians claim to be a non-violent society of intellectuals, they ask Picard to help catch him. After a very intense chase through an asteroid field where Danar proves that he's really, really good at flying around and evading people, he's a top-level pilot, the Enterprise eventually manages to snag him and toss him in the brig. Once Danar's in custody, Counselor Troy is walking by and she senses something, that he's not a common criminal, but he's a man under immense psychological strain. And it's revealed that Danar was actually a war hero during the Tarsian War. And to win that conflict, the Angosian government took ordinary citizens and they used biochemical and psychological conditioning to turn them into superhuman soldiers. They were programmed to respond to any threat with lethal force and were physically enhanced to be invisible to life form sensors. So the Enterprise can't even detect him as a living being. So pretty intense. The real conflict emerges, though, when Picard learns that after the war ended, the Angosian government couldn't turn off the soldiers' combat conditioning. So instead of investing in a way to help them reintegrate, the leadership decided the veterans were too dangerous and uncomfortable to have around, and they simply exiled them all to a prison moon, kind of like Australia, essentially punishing them for the very traits the government forced upon them. Picard is rightfully disgusted by this, but Prime Minister Nayrock insists it's a domestic matter that shouldn't affect their Federation application, which doesn't really work for Picard. Danar, realizing that the Federation isn't going to save him, he decides he's going to save himself because he says he will not go back to that planet unless he'll die. Otherwise, he will not go back. So a sequence that's very much like Rambo. He manages to escape the Enterprise's unbreakable security. He outmaneuvers Worf. He's beating the crap out of everybody, knocking people down. He crawls through Jeffries tubes, uses a phaser to create a sensor ghost that tricks the transporters. And he manages to beam himself down to the planet's surface where he rallies his fellow exiled veterans to storm the Capitol and demand a seat at the table to talk about getting everybody out. The episode ends with a chaotic standoff in the Angosian government center as the soldiers breach the room and a panicked Prime Minister Nayrock begs Picard to beam down security teams to stop the terrorists. But Picard, realizing this is all self-inflicted by the Angosian government, invokes a very sassy version of the Prime Directive. He tells Nayrock that since the soldiers are a product of Angosian law, the Enterprise has no right to interfere in an internal police matter. And Picard very smugly beams back to the ship, leaving the politicians to negotiate with the angry soldiers that they created, effectively telling them that if they survive the night, the Federation might consider calling them back and seeing if they can join the Federation. So, yeah, and he's Danar's a very charismatic guy throughout the episode, very roguish, but more intense and scary, and you love seeing Worf getting his ass kicked. But anyway, Steve, what did you think of this episode?
It doesn't happen often. You're not wrong.
That's true.
So I went sort of stream of consciousness on this. I loved the sort of big buildup of the dangerous criminal. They didn't just jump to it. They took some time to build the tension a little bit. Mm-hmm. I did dig that he was super strong. It was have we ever seen them hold someone in stasis?
In what way?
In warp before?
Oh,
not in warp. When they're transporting him?
I don't know if
I don't remember that ever happening before.
We do see it later on, I know, but I don't know if we have before. It might be the first time.
But I was like, oh, that's really convenient. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't. So my next note is, who hired this wannabe Shakespeare actor? The guy who they had playing Danar, whatever the hell his name is, he just spoke in a very we'll say stage play, almost Shakespearean kind of way. I could
see that.
The way some of the lines were delivered, and I'm not even sure if it's how they were written. I think it's how he delivered them, which is big and grandiose, kind of. And yes, but what of us? And I was like, what is happening right now?
It's like he wanted to be Khan, basically.
He kind of wanted to be Khan, and in some ways, he was better than Khan.
Yeah,
honestly.
kind of.
If anything, these guys should have been in one of the reboots. And it wasn't too bad when he was playing against Marina Sirtis, who also has kind of that over the top as the empathic. But once he started playing against flat, solid man Data, it was like the contrast turned up on the TV of how just, oh my God, it's so over the top.
You get really exemplified by that line at the end where he's done talking to Data and he goes, "Android, it was very good speaking with you." And Data's like,
"Yes,
you as well."
Yes.
Then he walks out.
but it wasn't too bad until Data was the flat man. And it was like, oh my God, this is nuts. And then what it reminded me of was in the original series. And this is a note I made at some point that Shatner really gets pinged with being an overactor and really chewing it. But in the early part of the first season, it's him and Spock a lot. And with Leonard Nimoy playing that flat, by contrast, Shatner's going to seem like he's acting huge.
That's true. That's a good point.
And the other point I made is that, in a scene, you've done acting and scene work. You're building off of the energy of the other person to advance the scene and to escalate the scene and to escalate tension. But when you're having a dialogue with Spock, who literally doesn't do that. Like his whole point is that he doesn't do that. Shatner has no option but to escalate, to like make the scene happen.
That's a good defense of Shatner.
But I identified it there, and it's the exact same issue here.
Mm-hmm. I have to point out though, for the listeners though, that in his note, who hired this wannabe Shakespeare actor, it corrected Shakespeare to shawarma. Who hired this shawarma actor?
Swarm actor. I did like him using the guy's badge after he knocked him out to disable the shield. Like that was like a cool, like, oh, it's biometric driven.
Oh, I didn't
He knocks
notice
out this
that.
guard and they've got the shields up and he grabs the guy's hand and puts it on his thing and it's like deactivate shield at 34.
Oh, that's what he did.
The implication is this wouldn't have activated if it wasn't his own hand, which means that their badges are biometrically
That's cool.
linked to them.
That's a small little touch.
Yeah, it is cool. It's a little detail that I don't know if it existed before. I did love that they have the ability to put crazy knockout gas in any event they want in the ship.
You might need that. You never know.
Yeah, you might need it. And then I found that he foiled them 7 times. How has Starfleet made it this far? We have encountered like near godlike alien races that they have not struggled with as much as this man.
Because he's a desperate, trapped animal. They're intimidating.
I guess.
I do like
but
that
there were some points.
Although they gave Worf his strategic advantage, where Worf is a strategic, battle-hardened person, supposedly, and that they gave Worf the moment where he's the one who was able to trick him and confront him in that cargo bay. He didn't win in the fight, but he did like figure out what he was doing, and I was like, it's cool they gave Worf the moment to be the smart one strategically in that situation. Okay,
question for you, because I don't think I've thought about this. It's been established that Vulcans are like twice as strong as humans. Is
Something
that right?
Like that, yeah.
Do Klingons fall in that category too? Are they stronger than humans?
I think in what I've seen through canon and in books, that Vulcans are just naturally a little stronger than Klingons. But just Klingons focus more on physical strength. So they're just,
right.
I think they're like, if you find the peak human, that's what a Klingon would be, like strength wise, because they're just always battle hardened and training. But then if you put them against a Vulcan, like a really well-trained Klingon might be able to beat a untrained, or maybe evenly matched with an untrained Vulcan. But a trained battle Vulcan would be impossible. I think would destroy all Klingons. That's my opinion.
Okay. Got it. So it's like Legolas fighting an Uruk-hai. That's sort of the idea.
Yeah, like an Uruk-hai is just really strong, almost like human wise, but he's still an elf. So he's got that elf strength,
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I like this comparison. Okay.
Me too. But yeah, I think otherwise it's a fun episode. It was very action packed. This wasn't one of the, there was some like negotiations and diplomacy at play because how do they approach this without interfering with a non-Federation planet? But at the same time, this was like a lot of strategy and this guy fooling them. And I like that they made pretty smart ways of how he was, tricking them into subterfuge and stuff. So I liked it. It was entertaining.
I don't think this will end up in my top 3.
No.
My issues with the acting were just the tone was just so strange. I'll never get over it. This won't be bottom 3. I didn't hate this. This wasn't disgusting the way some of these other episodes are. But so we'll never talk about it again as the short version.
It's a very middle of the road kind of, okay, that was fine kind of episode.
Yeah, right. It's okay.
So Trek facts for this. This TNG episode is the only one to feature a Jeffries tube, which is large enough to walk upright in. Before this, they were simply known as access chutes, access tunnels, or service chutes, but this one was like a full-on, you could walk down it. This episode was an allegory of U.S. veterans in the Vietnam War integrating back into American society, which is pretty dead on if you think about it. James Cromwell, Babe Pig in the City star, who starred as Prime Minister Nayrock in this episode.
That is what he's known for.
That's right.
The second one.
The second one, yeah. I forgot that was the second one.
It's the second one.
He's only known for the second one. That's hilarious.
It makes me so happy.
He is a giant Star Trek actor. Later on, he starred as Jaglom Shrek in Birthright Part 1 and Birthright Part 2, Minister Hannock in Starship Down, and most notably as Zephram Cochrane in Star Trek First Contact and in Broken Bow Part 1 and In a Mirror Darkly. Those were both, I think, on Enterprise. So he's been throughout many of the series, different characters, different makeup. But yeah, huge.
I did see that. We get to see him as Zephram Cochrane again at one point, though. I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to that in 15 years.
Star Trek Enterprise, he comes back as that. The shirts worn by the members of the Angosian Senate were the turtlenecked men's shirts from Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. They're the Starfleet officers' uniforms that were in that movie. They just repurposed them for this episode. Jeff McCarthy, who guest stars as Roga-Danar, the Shakespearean shawarma man himself, he later plays a Dr. Fitzgerald in the first episode of Voyager, the pilot episode. He plays a character in that episode. So we'll get to that eventually in like several years. But Steve, what are our Trek connections this time around?
Oh boy, do they exist. Well, Prime Minister Nayrock, played by James Cromwell, played the role of George H.W. Bush in 2008's W, starring Josh Brolin. In that movie, Laura Bush, played by Elizabeth Banks, who appeared as herself in a 2015 episode of The Muppets. Bam. Walk that long road. And then Roga-Danar, who you just talked about, played by Jeff McCarthy. He was on an episode of Doogie Howser, MD. Nice. Which, of course, starred Neil Patrick Harris, who cameoed as himself in the 2011 The Muppets movie during the telethon, where he said, "No, I don't know why I'm not hosting this."
Wow, 2 appears as themselves similarities this time.
2, that's the real miracle here.
That's right.
That's what we're celebrating.
Another miracle is how unsimilar these episodes were, but we tried our best to find the similarities of these 2 episodes. Steve, what do you got for us?
Both feature characters that want to leave a place. The Fraggles wanting to leave the rock, and the programmed soldiers wanting to leave the lunar prison.
It's good. It's really good.
And then my next note is, this one was really tough. That's the next thing I wrote down.
I only had one as well. Both present a supposed ideal society, but aren't what they seem. So the Angosians have the dark secret of their super soldiers that they brainwash to help save them in a war. So they don't really have this utopian society. And then Manny's Land of Carpets isn't the utopia the Fraggles think it is. It just isn't.
That's true. Where satisfaction is guaranteed.
It's guaranteed, guys. Oh, but whoa! What's that noise?
It's Miss Weasley.
All right, now it's time of the episode where we take one character from one of the episodes and switch them to the other one and vice versa. So what you got for us, Steve?
Trek to Rock this week, I'm going to bring over Data to replace basically all or any of the additional Fraggles. I love the thought of him taking all of the radio commercials really literally, like the Fraggles. Getting to say something like, Captain, I too would like to go to Bubba's Burger Barn.
It is indeed efficient to have perfectly clean laundry.
This all-you-can-eat fascinates me.
Yes. Is there actually a barn with burgers in it? Are there animals in this barn? All right. Trek to Rock, I'm going to bring Roga Donar over to replace the radio. He actually becomes Manny from Manny's Land of Carpets, and he leads the Fraggles in a violent war against outer space.
Oh my God. In a total revolution to escape the lunar colony.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Rock to Trek this week, I'm going to bring over Doc and replace the prisoner, Roga Donar, tinkering his way out of the prison, like just turning screws and making some goofy invention to get out, glancing between excitement over his radio and the rage of it not working.
And they engineered him that way.
That's right.
Rock to Trek, I'd bring over Moki to replace Prime Minister Nayrok. We'll say she just took over from the previous Prime Minister, and she manages to peaceably reintegrate the former soldiers into society with her unique hippie charm. She's just kind of like, oh, come on back in, guys. We'll make you peaceful again. That's Moki's superpowers, calming everyone down. But That brings us to the end of episode 162 of MuppeTrek Podcast.
Join us next time for Fraggle Rock episode Junior Sells the Farm.
And Next Generation series episode The High Ground.
So from the lovers, the dreamers, and us.
Live long and prosper, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the MuppeTrek Podcast. Be sure to follow us on social media on Facebook and Twitter.
Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform.
This podcast has been brought to you by A Play on Nerds.